You write about how, and we've talked a little bit about how the women's movement has achieved this change rather recently without much violence, and how unusual that is. Why do you think that happened so late? I mean, obviously there's still very far to go. Why do you think that happened so late, and why do you think it was successful without violence?
We really need to stop a minute and think about the amazing change that the feminist revolution has done over the last century, and with so little violence. You have much smaller changes in human society during history, which required tremendous amounts of violence. For thousands of years, all over the world, different religions, cultures, political systems, and one thing is constant, which is the subjugation and oppression of women. It's the patriarchal system. To the degree that many people thought that this is just natural and eternal. It's just the way things are, nothing can change it. And then within a relatively short time, historically speaking, of a century or two, and with very little violence, a tremendous change has happened. And we don't really understand how to account for it, partly because we also, as scientists, as scholars, as historians, we find it difficult to explain the patriarchal system in the first place. Many people think that there are obvious answers to the question why in almost all large-scale human societies women had a much lower legal and political and economic status than men. Actually, we don't have a good theory.
Oh, I have one.
I'm very
I don't know if
happy
it's
to hear.
good. Well, it seems like it balances out the biological superiority. Can I say that? Not superiority, but the fact that we're like the center of creation. You're the means of reproduction. So to control the means of reproduction, you have to have some sort of balance on that, right?
Maybe quite obvious why men would like to control women's bodies, women's sexuality. What is not clear is how are they able to do it? Because we have other species, including some of our closest relatives in nature, the bonobo chimpanzees, in which, maybe the bonobo males would like to control the female bonobos, but they just can't. In bonobo society, networks of females actually dominate the society. Now, lots of people have this very simplistic notion that men are simply stronger physically. So, it's no-brainer. But actually, this is a very problematic theory, because when you look at human societies, there is no consistent match between physical strength and social and political power. In many cases, there is a huge mismatch there. Like in most societies, people in their 50s and 60s and 70s dominate people in their 20s, even though people in their 20s are physically stronger. If you look at organizations, whether it's the Catholic Church, whether it's the United States, whether it's the mafia, so very often the Pope is not the strongest Catholic around. It's not like they had this big boxing championship of all the Catholic males in the world, and Francis, defeated all the competition, so he's now Pope. Even in criminal organizations, the big boss, he could be a man in his 60s who doesn't go around beating people up, but he has the power to tell much younger and stronger men, go and kill this guy, and they obey. And usually, social power depends on social abilities. The ability to build alliances, the abilities to reach compromises with potential allies, the ability to understand what the other person is thinking, either in order to reach a deal or in order to be aware of a trap. And at least according to folk psychology, I'd be happy to hear what you think about it, but folk psychology usually argues that women are better than men in all these things, like understanding the viewpoint of somebody else instead of obsessing about what I think and what I want. So if this is true, and I'm not sure if it's true, but if it is true, that women have superior social skills, or at least some social skills, it's a very big riddle. Then why is it that human society is dominated by these self-centered males and not by women with their superior abilities to make alliances and reach compromises and so forth? Because again, if you look at bonobo society, male bonobos are significantly stronger than female bonobos, but the males don't have strong networks, whereas the females have very strong networks, and this is what enables them to dominate the society.
And so no one has come up with any plausible...
You know, there is an entire industry of theories about the origins of the patriarchal system and why it has been so robust and long-lasting, and why is it shaking. And in the last few decades, there is no shortage of theories, but we are very far from having an evidence-based theory which is accepted by the majority of scholars.